All right, so before we get into each grenade, it's important to understand the controls and options available for throwing grenades in PUBG. So on the Xbox One, if you want to equip a grenade, you hit right on the D-pad. That will take one of the grenades in your inventory, you'll switch out one of your weapons, and you'll equip that grenade. Then if you also have other grenades in your inventory, say you have equipped a frag grenade, but you want to use a smoke grenade, you can cycle through your other grenades by hitting right on the D-pad again to get to that grenade, which is really helpful when you're in a firefight or in a really clutch moment and you don't have time to go through your inventory and be selecting a different grenade, right? Then on top of that, there's 3 different buttons here we have when you're using a grenade. So the first and most obvious one is right trigger is how you throw the grenade. So when you hold right trigger, this isn't actually you cooking the grenade. This is going to show you the trajectory in an arch with a red line about where the grenade is going to be thrown. And in my experience, usually the grenade is going to be under this line. It normally doesn't throw over the line. So if anything, you want to play a little safe and throw it farther than you think and then adjust from there, at least in my personal opinion. And then when you release right trigger, it's going to throw that grenade. Then where we get a little bit more complicated and a little bit more efficient and effective for players that are using, so let's say better strategy, you want to use left bumper to cook your grenade. This is where, some grenades like the frag grenade have a 5-second detonator timer. So you need to watch out and not hold it for 5 seconds and blow yourself up. But if you see that someone's in a building in one of the rooms and you want to not give them any chance to escape, you can hold the grenade down for a couple seconds. I think counting in Mississippi's is the best way, most realistic way to keep it on that 1-2 second timer. You count 1, 2, 3 Mississippi's, throw the grenade into the window, and then in another second or two, the grenade is going to blow up and they're going to have no chance to escape it. So definitely practice cooking grenades. Just watch out that you don't blow yourself up. And then the third and final option is the toggle stance, which you do by hitting left trigger on the Xbox. And this is something that I wouldn't recommend really doing. I'm sure there's some scenarios where this is helpful, but I'll just explain it. The original stance is overthrow stance, which is like what you see probably most people doing. And in the clips that I've been showing, throwing it overhand. And then when you switch, it goes to an underhand throw where you lob the grenade. But from all my experiences and tests here, when you lob the grenade, it does not go very far at all. It goes a very short distance. And you risk kind of injuring yourself or your team if you're using a lethal grenade. But like I said, I think there's probably some scenarios where if there's someone below you in a building or right outside of a window that you're in, say you're in the second story and there's a window and you think there's someone below you, you could lob it out that way. But for the most part, the distance is shockingly short. It's like you barely throw it and there's really no way to adjust for it. Even if you try to aim high, it really doesn't go anywhere. So for most cases, I would just stick to using overhand and then using the cook grenade to kind of help modify your distance if it needs to blow up immediately in midair or longer down the range and go from there. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the frag grenade first because, in my opinion, this is the best grenade in the game. Not only is it one of 2 lethal grenades alongside of the Molotov Cocktail, but it seems to be the most effective and most desirable. So I clocked this grenade here on screen at detonating in 5.2 seconds. So the way I calculated this is by cutting from the very point it's about to leave my hand, so right before it left my hand in the game, to the time of detonation explosion on the other side where you hear the noise. So I clocked that at 5.2 seconds, and I feel like it's reasonable to just estimate this at around 5 seconds to be safe. And that's from the time you hit the controller, the right trigger on the controller to time it's blowing up, you have around 5 to 5.5 seconds, let's say. But to be safe, I think it's better to go on the lower end of the spectrum. I checked on PUBG online. It's kind of hard to get the exact statistics around this, but it looks like they calculate the lethal damage at around up to 3.5 meters. So let's just say around up to 4 meters, this is lethal. And then anywhere from 4 to about 9 meters, it can cause around moderate damage. And then anything after that is going to be obviously a lot lower damage. You're not going to be killing anybody. And just because I like to look up this stuff and reference it against the military, it seems that most frag grenades out there, I know there's probably different variations and stuff like that and different frags that different military and different countries use, but it seems like the average detonation is anywhere from 4 to 7, and it usually lies within that 5.5 second range. So PUBG is sticking to the realism there, and this grenade does match that. All right, so next we have the smoke grenade, which I would put second on my list if I was ranking these on a 1 to 4 scale. And some people, competitive players, might even put this as the #1 grenade in PUBG because of how useful it is in the game. So not only can you throw it on yourself, you can cover your squad, you can cover somebody who's knocked, you can use it as a decoy. And if you watch professional players, as soon as they get into any kind of gun battle, they start throwing down a ton of smokes, cover their position, disorientate the enemies. There's just so many things you can do with with the smoke. There's so much strategy behind it that it's super useful. And I kind of geeked out here when I was going through the stats because I want you guys to know everything here, have the information available, and use it to the best of your ability in the game to get those chicken dinners, baby. So let's get into it. So from the time you throw the grenade to the time that the smoke completely dissipates is 45 seconds, which I was kind of shocked by. I didn't think the grenade lasts that long. I knew it lasted for a while, but not 45 seconds, almost a minute of time here. But that's not really what's important. We need to know how long this grenade is going to cover you for. So what I calculated here is that after you throw the grenade, you have roughly 3 seconds until the grenade detonates and smoke begins to fill in that area. But again, that's not the most important part. We need to know when we're going to get it covered and how long it's going to last for. So then I also calculated that it takes about 7 seconds for the cloud to get big enough and dark enough to cover you. So obviously this is subjective, but it just seems like at that point the cloud is big enough. So, and it better safe than sorry. So you know that once you throw the grenade, you have 7 seconds until it's providing useful cover for you or your team. And a helpful hint here is that if you're trying to cover yourself in your position or there's someone knocked right next to you, don't try to throw the grenade at them because it's just going to bounce away. What I would do is hold the grenade, hit left bumper, wait 3 seconds until it detonates on yourself, and then you just wait another 4 seconds until you're about 7 seconds. You can stand up and try to heal him or whatever you need to do because at that point you will be covered. And then over the next 30 seconds, the smoke is going to continue to rise. At 40 seconds, the smoke no longer provides cover, and then at 45 seconds, the smoke is completely gone. So you basically have cover until 40 seconds. So if you minus 7 seconds it took from you to throw the grenade and provide a decent amount of cover, by the 40 seconds, you have about 33 seconds of actual cover in this game. So then something that you can just put in your head is that when you throw a grenade, it's going to take 7 seconds, a smoke grenade, for it to give you enough cover, and you're going to have roughly 30 seconds of safety until you got to move. And I just rounded down from 33 to 30 if you didn't catch that, because I think that's an easier number to remember, is that you have 30 seconds of cover, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't think it was that long, and it's super helpful in this game. So definitely give that a try, and I hope you guys found that helpful. Third, we have the stun grenade, which I calculated from time of throwing to explosion at 2.7 seconds. If you look online, most of the stuff in websites say 2.5 seconds, so that's just 0.2 seconds off. So for simplicity's sake, we'll round this to 2.5 and say that's where it's at. This is one of the fastest detonated grenades in the game. And then obviously the most important part is the flash and that effect. So the flash is going to emit in a cone in a straight direction, kind of like at a 45-degree angle in front of you to the left and to the right. And it's going to last for about 4 seconds. And on some instances online, they say it's not affected by some walls and rocks, so it's going to go through that. And if you stare at it as your own player, you're going to be affected by that as well. I kind of calculated here that you can start to see again at the 3.6 second mark, and that the effect of having the whiteness on your screen completely goes away at the 4.2 second mark. But I have here that I calculated that just in roughly 4 seconds, you're going to get your vision back and be able to see. A side tip here that I wrote down, I think most people probably know this, but just in case you don't, if you hold left bumper to cook the stun grenade and you blow it up on yourself in the 2.5 second detonation time, you do not flash yourself. So I suppose you could run into a building holding this down, or you start to hold it down at the 2 second mark, you run into the door, the flash goes off. If someone's in front of you, they're going to get stunned. You don't get stunned, and you could try to take out your weapon and kill them. Well, I've never done this, and it seems a little crazy because of the fact that you're ensuring that you're not flashing yourself and actually the opponent in front of you. This does seem like a good idea, so I think I'll be trying this in the near future. And last but not least, we have the Molotov Cocktail. So although this is my least favorite grenade in the game, I still pick it up and use it while I'm playing. So I recommend grabbing it because I feel like all the grenades in this game are effective to some degree. It's just the fact that I'd rather have a frag grenade because it seems to be more lethal and more consistent, that this is at the bottom of my list. But let's go through it. So this is the only grenade that cannot be cooked. As it's a Molotov cocktail, you light it on fire, it's in a glass bottle, and it detonates once it hits the ground. So upon landing or hitting a terrain or a wall, once the glass breaks, that's when it explodes. So what I've calculated here is everything after the explosion, because basically the detonation time is just how long it's airborne, how far you're throwing the cocktail. So what I have here is that as soon as it hits the ground, there's a little explosion, and then it looks like the fire I calculated hits the ground or starts to grow at 1.5 seconds. and then it takes another second for it to grow to a significant portion of the ground, and that the fire burns for a total of about 8 to 9 seconds, and then this completely fizzles out in about 10 seconds. So it seems like, just for a safe estimate, it's going to take 2 seconds for this fire to get on the ground, and then it's going to grow a little bit larger for about, I don't know, let's say 6, 7, 8 seconds. It's going to hit its max size at around 8 seconds, and then it's going to burn out at the 10-second mark. So you basically have 8 seconds of damage over time with this grenade. And even though I don't like this grenade, I've seen it used in a lot of good scenarios. You can use it to kind of block an area of a house. Like, say if somebody's coming in and through one of the doors, you're not ready, or you're trying to loot, or someone's knocked, you can throw this Molotov cocktail right by the door, and it's going to prevent somebody from running in, and then you can pick up one of your teammates. And also, when you throw the Molotov cocktail, this will actually break down a door. So if you think an enemy is in there and you kind of want to trap them, you can throw the Molotov cocktail at the door and then have one of your other buddies throw a grenade inside the room. There's a lot of different strategic things you can do with the Molotov cocktail. It's just that when someone's out in the open and you throw one of these things, it's really kind of hard to predict where the fire is going to go and how much damage it's going to do. So I would just recommend using it in certain situations, and it's probably better inside. All right, so that's all the information I have on grenades in PUBG. To end this video, I'm going to do a quick recap / TLDR for anybody that didn't want to watch the entire video and just wants to click right here to get the information. TLDR standing for too long didn't read, for anybody that didn't know that. So let's get right into it. First, we have the frag, which really the only thing you need to know, and the most important thing you need to know, is that this takes 5 seconds to detonate. So make sure you take that into consideration when you're cooking the grenade. Then we have the smoke grenade. This takes 7 seconds for the smoke to build up to actually provide you or your team enough cover, and the smoke will last for about 30 seconds. Then you got to start getting ready to move. Just another pro tip here, that you can detonate the smoke on yourself, so you don't have to risk throwing it at your feet and watching it bounce away and give away your position. Then we have the stun grenade, which this has the fastest detonation timer in the game at 2.5 seconds and will cause the enemy or yourself to have 4 seconds of blindness. Another pro tip here is that you can detonate the stun grenade on yourself, which will prevent you from going blind and affect anybody in a 100-meter cone radius in front of you. And then last but not least, we have the Molotov cocktail, which I don't really have any great statistics here. Really, the fire just lasts for 8 to 9 seconds, and you can use this to kind of block off a doorway or benefit you in any which way possible. I just feel like if you have a choice, you should probably be using a different grenade. And major takeaway here, frag grenade, 5 seconds. Smoke grenade, it's going to take 7 seconds to cover you and actually last for a significant amount of time. Those were the results that I was surprised by and think that you should really know when you're playing this game. So hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, please give this a thumbs up or leave me a comment down below. And as always, thank you for watching. I'm Blitz5, and peace out.